Hello, I'm Paul Beckwith. I'm with the University of Ottawa Laboratory for Paleoclimatology. In this video, I really want to delve into what's been happening with Cambridge Analytica and hijacking of social media. You know, I've even heard terms like Facebook weaponization and things like that. So what's really happening? You know, I want to look at, just give some of my thoughts on, you know, how serious this problem is and how sort of unprecedented it is. And it really is, because, you know, technology is supposed to be a tool for humanity. But the problem is it can be controlled. You know, the very root of technologies, like anything computer-based, it can be controlled by a very small number of people. And when they're using the latest information on psychology, on humans, and how to sway people's views and opinions, how to get to the hearts and minds of people and sway their opinions and give them beliefs that aren't based on reality, you know, it can become a very insidious and dark sort of thing. So, you know, what's up with Facebook, for example, and Twitter? Well, and even Google. You know, when you do a Google search, okay, there's an IP address connected with every device. So my iPhone that I'm filming this on has a certain IP address. There'll be an IP address of my computer at home, you know, of tablets, notebooks, whatever. Every device has an IP address. So if you go on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Google anything you do with the device, any keystrokes you put in, any websites you go to, can all be tracked in a history, you know, and related to that IP address. Okay, so, you know, in Facebook, you have a number of friends, right? Large number of friends, and they have their own IP addresses. And when you share something, like, first of all, passively, you know, you coming across your news feed, you can't have posts from every single friend that posts something. You'd just be swamped, right? Your feed would be continuously scrolling by and updating, and so this information does have to be managed. So one of the logical ways to do it is things that you post will be read by certain people, and those people will be bumped up on the list. So when they post things, you're more likely to see things that they post than other people whose posts you don't read and people that you don't interact with. So the connections, there's basically links of how strong are these connections between people. So like your best friend will be right up there on the hierarchy. Anything they post, you'll see. Anything you post, they'll see, and so on, right? And all the way down the chain. So there's a hierarchy, and the algorithm of Facebook, you know, they often tweak it as it grows, as you have more friends and stuff. You know, these algorithms are tweaked. So this is all sort of passively, you know, and it's necessary in order to in order to manage all this information, so that you have a useful thing. You know, when you open Facebook, you have a useful connection with it. And the problem is that now Facebook uses things, you know, we don't know all the algorithms. They don't release the priorities. They don't have a release of the spreadsheets that their algorithms are based on. But they can tweak them. So let's say Mark Zuckerberg is a climate denier, right? So he can basically make sure that none of my posts go anywhere, right? Never have any traction. My YouTube videos never go out there. It's only people that get messages, hey, Beckwith has posted a video, that get to see them. You know, when I send them out on Twitter, they can go around, but they'll always route back through Facebook and YouTube, and they can be suppressed. So, you know, I do a video, I can get a couple thousand viewers, maybe 5,000. Whereas, let's say he's a big chemtrail believer, okay? So what he can do is, you know, any posts that come across on, that say that that chemtrail spraying, we're doing climate engineering, you know, those videos can get traction. They can get 50,000, 100,000 views quickly, not because people want to see that, but because, you know, they're pushed on people's feeds. Same thing with climate denial, same thing with a particular candidate in an election. And now, okay, so these are internal moves that can be done by a company like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or YouTube. Any of these social media companies has the ability to change the information flow that comes across their platform depending on the beliefs of a few people in key parts of the company that have access to tweaking these algorithms, right, however they want. Okay, so that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is that, you know, you can, by sheer numbers of people, you can influence and take over these platforms if you like. So let's talk about the Russian building. I think it's in St. Petersburg. Tons of people working there, you know, entire shifts, you know, controlling all these fake persona. I mean, one of the huge problems is with the social media is people aren't accountable. So because people aren't accountable and have, you know, handles, you know, not using their real name, etc., you know, we get these massive numbers of bots, right, or fake personas. You know, one case would be bots, completely AI, robotic, and sending out, you know, the same, you know, you could have like 100 tweets from them and they can just cycle through them randomly, sending them off, you know, swamping out the platform. Everything they tweet can be connected to Facebook. So they could have Facebook pages, so when they send a tweet, it automatically goes through the Facebook platform, sending out the same stuff. And it's a random sort of sequence through this database of tweets. And you can have, you know, hundreds or thousands or whatever, tens of thousands of these bots completely swamping out a platform. And when they're deleted or caught by, you know, Twitter, for example, if they're trying to reduce the bots, then other ones are automatically generated. IP addresses are hidden or they're cycled, you know, or new ones are created, or even, you know, even real people's IP addresses can be taken over, and tweets can be sent out by the bots to look like they're coming from a real person's IP address. So these companies are totally, like Twitter, they're totally negligent in not dealing with this. Okay, why should somebody have millions of Facebook followers, you know, like, you know, the Trump or Obama or whoever, you know, and 30 or 40% of them are fake or even more. Like, they're not real, right? People actually pay to get Twitter followers or pay to get Facebook followers. So this is like really, this is like weaponization or hijacking of social media by nefarious characters. So that's just another example. Okay, you can have, you know, large organized paid groups of people. And who's going to, you know, have the money to pay these groups? Well, we're talking about very, very wealthy individuals, you know, 1%ers or states even, countries, you know, like in the case of, you know, Russia having the St. Petersburg organization. Okay, so what else is happening? Well, now it gets really, okay, so we've talked about inside stuff being done. We've talked about external influences hijacking social media. Okay, and now, you know, we get to, when you combine these sort of things with human psychology, with knowledge about human psychology, you know, the phrase sort of controlling, my arm's getting tired. Like I said, I really have to invent something that can hold the camera steady. You know, maybe a selfie stick on a chest plate or something, you know, strapped on or coming from a knapsack or something. Okay, so Anyway, if you know of a device that will allow me to hold the camera steady and do these walking selfies, I'm all ears. Okay, so just make sure I cross the street safely. Okay, so what do we? How do we deal with this? Like, it gets actually even worse when you combine all of this data. Okay, so the breach from Facebook, okay? So all of the data, every time you go click on something, you know, like something, share something on Facebook, you know, on Twitter, on Instagram, on, you know, any social media platform, anything you Google, right? The history is kept. So we've got huge amounts of data. So what sort of things can we find out from this data? What sort of patterns are there? Well, the IP addresses are like the mailboxes of anybody using, you know, accessing the web. So the addresses. So Trump's going to give a speech during the election in a small town, and they get the names of all the people that are attending. Might even ask for emails. Okay, so they get the IP addresses of these people attending. They know exactly who's attending. So now what they can do is go into the database and look at all the social media history of this person. You know, what is this person like? What do they dislike? What are their fears? Right? So in order to sway people's views on things, you get into the hearts and minds of people. Notice the expression hearts and minds. Hearts is ahead of minds. Okay, hearts and emotions are actually ahead of minds and leading minds. So if you want to change people's mind, you can do it through their emotions and the hearts aspect of it. So you're giving a speech, so you get all of the 5,000 plus data points on every person that is attending your speech, and you just do an analysis of a frequency analysis. What are the things that people are tweeting? What are the things they're liking, disliking? And you do a statistical analysis and you find out which things are most common. And you have a statement in your speech that most of the people in the crowd will agree with, and tack it on to the end of that statement, you know, something else that you know may not be, maybe more controversial, may not be, you know, maybe a person sitting on the fence and not sure about, but it's a policy that you want. So you tack something at the beginning, you know, everybody will agree with, and within the next sentence or the same sentence, you add something that you really want people to, you want to bring people over to this direction. So it's like Clinton and Pizzagate, or lock Clinton up, or whatever else. You know, there's certain common ones. And you use this wherever you go. You've got your Cambridge Analytica computer geeks analyzing this stuff, you know, pink-haired guys, for example. And you say, for, you know, most of your speech, exactly what people want to hear. You know they're all going to agree with you and cheer on this. And then you add some other things in, and it evolves. It gets more and more polarized. You get more and more hatred within these people for the opposition parties. It becomes almost like a war. What you're doing is you're using PsyOps, you're using psychological warfare. You know, this is a lot of this Cold War stuff, but you're using it on these new social platforms. And people have no idea what you're doing, and you know, it's crazy. So this isn't the end of it. Even the exit polls said Clinton was not going to have any competition in the last election. She was going to sweep, and all the polls were wrong. So what happens now? Well, you have the sophisticated, you know, you have a state with lots of money, and they want to destabilize their opposition, the U.S. They can't do it militarily, so they do it, they basically try to destroy the U.S. from within. So they just basically hack in and change numbers of votes, right? So, you know, to get electoral votes, well, we need 500 more votes here, so those votes suddenly appear. And it's